Hey, this is Chuck, and you are listening to Fans with Bands, the podcast where we talk to the fans and the bands they dig about life, music, and whatever the hell else we want to talk about. Today on Fans with Bands, we're talking to Crossword Smiles. Check it out. All right. Hey, this is Chuck with Fans with Bands, and I'm talking to Tom and Chip from Crossword Smiles. How you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you, Chuck?
Doing great.
Excellent. I'm doing really good. And Chip, I want to thank you because you reached out and then sent me a copy of your debut it was called Pressed and Ironed, which I gave a listen to, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I thought it was very refreshing for me to hear some music that kind of took me back to like early 80s. I thought of like first the Replacements, then I thought of going back a little ways to Big Star. Then I thought I heard some like kind of alt rock things that I heard in the 90s. So it was very cool to hear, music that it was part of, my growing up experiences. It had that kind of come back. I was primarily a metalhead, but that was very refreshing, to hear that music. And so I think you guys did a great job with that debut. It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Chuck. You touched on a lot of the things we were aiming for.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, the anybody that references Replacements and Big Star and our record in the same little bit, that's cool. That's very cool. So we made an attempt to I think kind of what you were getting at. We wanted to get back and reflect some of the things that influenced us and the records that we just really fell in love with. So those were some of our touchstones.
Very cool. Very cool. So how did the two of you get together, and how did Crossword Smiles come together? And I'm also curious about the name. Who came up with that?
Well, I'll take this one.
Right.
So Chip, I also have a band called the 46%, and I had made a record. Well, it all started with Songs of Movement, right, Chip?
Yep.
Yeah,
That was the start. Yep.
Yeah, I made a record called Songs of Movement, and Chip played bass on some of the songs on that record.
Oh, cool.
And we just hit it off immediately. We're just both massive music geeks and just like a lot of the same music. And we could talk. We could sit at a bar and talk music for an hour. 2 hours, easy.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's just you find those kindred souls, and also just a great musician, and really just blended well with what I was doing, and so that just kind of started with that. He came to the studio and did a couple tracks with me on that record, and then became basically part of the band for the next record called Almost Ready for the Future. That was in 2020. He played on that whole record, and then we just started hanging out a lot more, playing and hanging out. And I think we were at an Ann Arbor bar after rehearsal one day, just because we felt like it. And we started talking. I don't know, it came out of nowhere. Chip was like, hey, I got all these, by the way, I don't know if I've told you this, but I got all these songs that are kind of sitting around that I've written, some are completed, some are sort of half completed, some are, but I think they're all good ideas. And I said, oh, well, I've actually got some leftovers from the last two records as well, kind of sitting around that didn't really fit on the albums. And we started talking about our shared love of a lot of artists, like like you were saying, a lot of early 80s influences, a lot of bands sounds that we just didn't hear anymore, know?
Yeah. Very cool. So how did you come up with the name Crossword Smiles?
Yeah, we
Chip.
we snagged that. We did the band thing where you like come up with 75 different names and you start crossing them off and you get it down to 37 and you're like, oh gosh, this is silly. We're never going to come up with anything. And Crossword Smiles is actually a lyric from Dangerous Type from the Cars.
Oh, wow.
I want to crack your crossword smile.
Very cool.
And I don't know if I was out running with my iPad on or iPod on or whatever, but somehow that jumped out at me and I was like, oh, Crossword Smiles, what a cool kind of cryptic,
Yeah.
That's and honestly, Chuck, a lot of it is like, that first list of 75 names,
Yeah.
you start looking at it and you go look on Bandcamp and there's already 17, of the pencils or whatever out there.
Right.
You're not going to be able to use it. So,
Literally like 50% of the names are taken.
yeah. Yeah, you have to come up with something that's, two words put together that just don't go together
Right.
to get something that hasn't been taken already. So, but it was fun. It was cool.
But as soon as always with happens with these name things where it's like you go through all these names, you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, that's all right. That one's taken. And then finally he went Crossword Smiles. I go, that's it. That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, I love it. It's fantastic. So you guys talked a little bit about having songs that you were either sitting in the hopper or partially completed. So what was the songwriting process like for you guys to make the album? Was it Chip or Tom come up with a full-fledged tune and then bring it to the guy and kind of hammer it out from there, or did you cut and paste from different tunes that sounded like the riffs could go? What was that process like for you guys?
Yeah, I would say out of the 10 songs that are on the record, there's probably maybe two or three that were nothing was fully formed, but there's a couple of tracks that they were pretty far along. Tom is super prolific. He's always recording, and he's one of those guys that can play, whatever you need to play. So he can put together a demo, that sounds pretty close to a recording. Drums, keyboards, guitars. He's a great singer. Me, on the other hand, I'm pretty limited to my engineering skills. So there were maybe half of them were probably only half formed.
Okay.
And that was probably, and Tom and I have talked about this, one of the more enjoyable things about the whole record was just the organic process of sitting across from each other with an acoustic guitars and saying, hey, that I really like that part.
Cool.
Does and the bit about, does this need a middle eight? Maybe not. Let's try and find one. And, it was very organic. That was a true joy, bouncing stuff off of each other. So,
awesome. Very cool.
It was so fun. It was really fun because it was just so collaborative, and both of us were open and not precious about our ideas, and which is huge because some guys will, no, this is the way it goes. And we were like, no, that's how about this, or how about we change this? And even songs like Chip was saying, even songs that were pretty far along, we changed around. We changed arrangements, we changed different things about them, lyrics. I mean, so really everything got kind of rebuilt. And I think it was all of it improved because we were collaborating. So
very cool. So I need to know about the girl with a penchant for yellow.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
What was
the inspiration for that?
Yeah, Chuck, I am a guy that I scribble down little notes or type it into your phone or do whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm really a guy that just a word can grab me. And Michael Penn is a guy, I don't know if you know Michael Penn stuff, but some of his lyrics are just so, I don't know how he comes up with something.
Yeah.
I'll revert to my running thing. I was out running and it was the riff and the raff, I'm going to mimeograph and things like that. So I'll hear a word and somewhere I heard penchant and I'm just like, oh, I got to write that down. That could be something that could turn into a song. And then Tom will attest to this. We play with some other guys, a couple of guys that are rehearsing to play at the record release show, as a matter of fact.
Okay, cool.
But I have a tendency I have no shortage of story songs. So, Jen and Brad and, just trying to tell a little bit of a story and bring in just enough of it autobiographical to it that there's a little bit of it in there. But, I had written down penchant at some point, and that was the germ of the idea. So
you just don't see that word in a pop song very often.
No. And I was going to mention that I love the lyrics in your guys' songs.
Oh, awesome.
They um there's definitely that storytelling aspect, the kind of a singer-songwriter thing, but put to the rock music, which I love because while I do, like singer-songwriters, um I don't know, sometimes the vehicle of that music doesn't jive with me.
Right.
But the way you guys do it was fantastic. And yeah, I love the lyrics. And another song I was thinking about is Parallel Lines. Um, love that tune,
Thank you.
and was also curious about what was the inspiration for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take that one. That one is that one's like the true Frankenstein on the record.
Is
Because if we worked enough on it's probably the song we did the most moving around on
Uh-huh.
and trying different things and different adding and subtracting different things. Inspiration for that was um, a Freddie Johnston song. Freddie Johnston is a great songwriter, and Tom and I both really really dig his stuff. And the Weatherman thing, he's got a song, um, "The Mortician's Daughter,"
Okay.
and that's about as close as I can get to what the inspiration was for it. But the talking part about the Weatherman just kind of came out, and I think Tom really gravitated to that. He liked the the melody. It's fairly unique
Yeah.
vocal melody.
Yeah.
And that song in the studio, I would tip my hat to Greg Addington, who produced that song. He produced a couple. Him and John Lowry produced a couple of the songs, but Greg came up with that slinky keyboard,
Oh,
the
very cool.
intro. And I remember Tom and I, the first time we heard it, we were like, "No way are we going to
blown
use that?
away.
No, there's no way that's going
Yeah.
to work."
Yeah, we were like, what are you doing?
And then just over time, that thing, we're like, "Oh, I kind of dig that. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool."
Yeah.
And one of the things that I like the most about that song is again, a lot of times you can hear a song, it's like, "Oh, that kind of reminds me of this song or that
Yeah.
song or this artist or that artist."
Right.
Um, I think we really found a fairly unique song there,
Yeah.
sound wise and arrangement wise and all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it was when we were rehearsing it. It just has that beginning that it's just two chords, and we just kept playing these two chords over and over, and it was cool. But I was thinking, so it needs something. It needs something. And when Greg did that little Rhodes thing over it was like, oh. At first, it like Chip said. At first, we weren't sure about it. And then all of a sudden, I
Yeah.
went, oh my god, this is awesome.
That's
yeah.
cool.
And then the Tom plays the guitar solo on that, and when we heard him play it in the studio, it was just like it sounds like Larry Carlton on Steely Dan record or something.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So
More
it's
to
got
do
a
with
little
the
bit
tone
of
of the playing.
kitchen sink to it. Yeah.
I think it was more the tone of it. Like it's for some reason we got that reeling in the ears tone somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
for sure. Awesome. So what are your each of your favorite tunes off of the album? Can you pick one?
You go first, Tom.
Oh man. Oof. It's tough. It's like they always say it's like picking children or something. But I don't know. I really uh, October Leaves for some reason that just came together so easily and so quickly. And at first I didn't really think it was much of anything.
Uh,
And it just turned out, I thought it turned out really atmospheric and really nice.
yeah. That's
Um, you know, and let's see. Oh man. I mean, obviously we just talked about Parallel Lines. Feet on the Ground kind of came out, like you said, sort of like, I don't know, All Shook Down Replacements or something, which I was like, wow, okay, that's kind of cool. That was kind of fun, you know?
Ex-
Yeah,
Um,
that's our heavy metal tune, Chuck. It's no Battalion, right? But it's heavy metal for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Walk Softly with the with Dave Feeney's slide guitar. It just oof, that he just makes that song. And that was actually, it was interesting because with Chip, this is another collaboration thing where even when the songs were kind of in their finishing stages, we were still talking about why don't we change this or do that, or and we would just be communicating all the time. And one Chip
Yeah.
called me one day and just said, I hear a pedal steel on this on Walk Softly. And I was like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And so we called up Dave Feeney, and who I've recorded, I've recorded
Yeah.
with. And he said no problem, no problem at all. And I sent him the track, and literally like 2 minutes later, he had this beautiful pedal steel on it.
Nice. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
So that's just a
And
couple.
I would bounce in there that Where's the Sense um, is one of my favorite ones, and that one probably for me, I'm a big fan of the Go-Betweens and Grant McLennan, his solo work. And in writing that song, that was something I was really aiming for, and I think we did a really good job pulling that off. So I'm really happy with the way that one came out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, one thing I like to ask folks is kind of going back to their origin stories and through music. And one of those questions is, what was the very first album you bought, and what about that album made it intriguing for you?
Hmm.
And either one of you can go first. If you
Yeah.
got that,
Do you know, Tom?
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't, it's like I bought a couple records that I can know what the first couple were. It was like it might have been Queen, Night at the Opera,
Nice.
The Cars, Candio,
Oh yeah, I love that one.
and Get the Knack. Those were like
Oh
very
yeah,
yeah.
awesome,
So it
awesome.
was like 79 when I was like starting to really get into music. Like I was starting to like field music at that point. So, and
Very
I was
cool.
only 10 years old, but I was like, I want to go to, I remember begging my parents to take me to Scotty's in Summit, New Jersey to go buy these albums.
That's cool.
Excellent.
I'd
Now
like, Dad,
you had
I raked the front yard. Can I go get a record now?
well, and you had sisters though, right? You had sisters that were they into music, right? Didn't they get did they
Yes, my
okay.
oldest sister especially was into. She had a lot of like. I mean, she had all the Zeppelin and Stones and Pink Floyd
Oh,
and
nice.
all the classic rock stuff. So I was kind of grown up on. I grew up on that stuff.
Cool.
But the first ones that I bought were sort of like the post punk
Yeah.
Cars, the Knack. All those were my band. The Pretenders. Those were like the bands I was like, oh, so into.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
and
learned.
and my brother, I have one older brother, and he was not really a music guy. So my first batch is a little more hodgepodgey than yours, Tom. I remember at Kmart, um, Jim Croce. I remember buying the Jim Croce's greatest hits,
Nice.
Kiss Alive.
Oh
But
yeah.
the real first one that I can remember riding my bike up to Kmart with my money and buying was, for whatever reason, was Curtis Mayfield, the soundtrack to Superfly.
Really awesome.
That's
Like
pretty killer,
what?
actually.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Freddie's Dead was just I don't know if I had heard it somewhere or what, but holy smokes. But yeah, my favorite band probably was the Police.
Oh yeah.
So when I graduated, to the Columbia House thing, it was like I think the Police were probably my first favorite band.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I was a late bloomer to my sister loved the Police. She also loved Queen. And I don't know if it was because she loved it, I didn't want to love it or what.
Right.
But I just kind of ignored both of those bands for the longest time. And
Right. Right.
then later on, I was like, why the hell wasn't I listening to this then? Like, Jesus, what was
Right.
wrong with me?
Right. Right.
I
Yeah.
remember I had a tape. I had a cassette, a C90 of
Yeah.
Outlandos d'Amour and Regatta de Blanc, and it was just like those. I just would just flip it over and just
Yeah.
Mm.
it was
Oh
in my
yeah.
Walkman a lot. Put it that way.
Awesome. So sort of along that same thread is what inspired you to want to play music? Was there a person, a band, or just somebody that really influenced you to want to play music, but then also to like get into a band and perform? Tom, maybe we'll start with you.
Wow. That's a good question. Um, it's so hard because there's so much, but uh, I would say that it's interesting because I started as a drummer,
Oh,
so
okay.
um, I just remember when the first Foo Fighters album came out. I remember being really inspired by that because I thought this guy is a drummer. He's
Yeah.
known as a drummer. He just came out and basically wrote songs and sang and played all the instruments. I remember being pretty inspired by that record.
Yeah.
Make it and maybe and thinking that maybe I could do that too.
Cool.
Um, and also the first all the first McCartney record, um, the first a lot of Todd Rundgren. Like I was really inspired by the guys that could do it all.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking like that is so cool that they could do that. And
Yeah.
I remember feeling like I want to be that guy. I want to do that.
Awesome. Chip,
Yeah,
how about you?
for me, I would say a couple of things. One record, particularly, it was that first Cars record. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
Ben Orr, man, what a
Yeah.
great singer. And that first record, those songs are just so good, every one of them. And then,
Cars barely put out a bad record.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then as back to that Police thing, I think I wanted to be Sting, so the bass, I gravitated to the bass. I don't know that I was ever, a lot of guys that end up on the bass are, there's three guitarists in the band and somebody's got to play the bass.
Yeah.
And that was not, I wasn't in that situation. So I don't know why. I don't know if I was, four strings has got to be easier than six or what, but I picked it up. And then again, if you listen to the Police, you wanted to be Sting.
Yeah. Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
much.
Oh God, he made bass so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the English beat shirt with the cut off sleeves and the
Yeah.
neck cut out. I had one of those. Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome.
Can't get any cooler than that.
Right.
No.
So if you guys could have a beverage, beer, whatever floats your boat, with somebody either alive or dead today, who would that be? And what would you like to talk to them about?
Whoa.
Chip, how about
Holy
you?
cow.
Chip, you're on the hot seat, man.
Oh my gosh. Holy cow. Actually, it would probably be Grant McLennan,
Oh, cool.
the guy from the Go-Betweens.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you're familiar with them at all, but two guys go to school, to college, in Australia, fairly nerdy, literate, artsy guys, and can't play instruments, but they form this band. And so, and Grant McLennan passed away when he was 40, in his 40s.
Oh, wow.
So he's been gone, almost 15, 20 years now, Tom, right?
Yeah.
So,
So sad.
yeah. So I would love and so there's not a whole lot of probing interviews and songwriting. I mean, they've got a fairly rabid, dedicated fan base, but in terms of, some of these guys that have been around for a long time, there's books about them. There's, how to write a song by, Bob Dylan or whatever.
Right.
And there's just so much information about them. McLennan's got a little bit of the mystique still out there that I would love to just sit and hang with.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's one for sure. And I that's a great question. That is a super question. I love that question. So
cool.
It's a super tough question, man. I'm going to cheat. I got a couple in my mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's see. I would say Alex Chilton. I would love to have a beer with that guy, even though I've heard he was very ornery sometimes and might blow me off. But
Right.
and let's see, Peter Gabriel.
Oh
I've
yeah.
always been a big. I guess
Good
I
one.
just always loved his. I just always find him fascinating for some reason.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he would be very interesting to talk to, but I think I would be super intimidated,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
He seems like super intelligent. Like he'd be like,
yeah.
yeah,
And I
remember
would
when you made that album, Peter Gabriel 3? I'd be like,
yeah.
Chris Farley.
right.
Right.
It was awesome.
That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's exactly what I do because every time I've met somebody that I really admire, who's a well known in whatever their field is, I don't know. I lose the facility to talk and speak intelligently and just go, hi, how are you know?
All right.
Oh, I'd be in trouble with Gabriel. I'd be like, I wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
That's such a good question because I mean I can certainly think of some some authors too.
Oh yeah,
I
for
would love
sure.
to sit and have a beer with John Irving or something. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I would love to have talked to Hunter S. Thompson. I know he's
Oh gosh, yeah.
out there, but and
Kurt
again,
Vonnegut.
I probably would have been freaked out, just being around him, but yeah.
Yeah, Kurt Vonnegut probably too. That would be a great.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a fun question to think about because you like you said you can. It doesn't have to be music. It can be anything really. Anything you're interested in.
Yeah,
Music's builders. I don't know, guitars
yeah.
makers.
Mine would be
Whatever.
all music. I hate to say it, but
Well, in speaking of, I at least for me drawing for lyrics, I certainly find some things when I'm reading, books that it's just like, oh wow, that's a pretty cool little line there. I need to scribble that thing down.
Right.
oh,
You
that's
know,
that's true. That's a good point. Yeah,
yeah.
because I read a lot of music bios, and that's great, but it's not good for lyric writing.
No, fiction. You got to go fiction usually. Yeah.
Oh man. So it's still in this kind of like foundational things. If you well, actually not really a foundational thing. If you guys could play anywhere in the world, where would you like to perform and who would you like to have on a show with you if you were going to do a concert somewhere? And we'll start with Tom.
Oh, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, and this has sort of always been in my mind, is the because I so much of the music that I love comes from England, so I would love to play in London, in the UK, some
Nice.
even just in the UK. It could be Manchester, it could be I don't know wherever, and it's somewhere in the UK. Um, that would be just my dream is to play there, just to go there as a musician and play a gig there. That would just be the ultimate for me.
Yeah. Awesome. And is there any bands that you would like to play with while
Bands,
you're over there?
bands that I would play with. Wow. Um, oh, that's a tough one. Like that I could open for or would open for me or whatever. I guess
Either way, but it's the dream concert, so it could
the
go
green
It's your
dream
bill,
the
man.
dream
It's your
concert,
bill.
or you could bring them over with you. They could be somebody here. So
Right, that's true. That's true. Oh man. It's so hard. It's like I'm just like tripping over my but like I mean, XTC if they
oh
would
yeah,
perform,
that would be
I don't
cool.
know.
Yeah,
If they're not, they're no longer, but if they could
right.
make peace and get together.
Awesome.
It's funny because what I was thinking is the same situation. I'm like, are they all alive? Yeah, they're all alive, but I don't know if they would all get on the stage together.
Right,
Um, I
exactly.
I would love to play CBGBs
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
that's a good one.
and have play with television,
Television.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and they're all alive. But again, I don't know that they could stand to be in the same room with each other. But yeah,
Oh
that
man.
would be a dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
That'd be
well,
cool.
Chip, didn't you say you saw them later on and they were still amazing? Like
Well, you know what? I saw them. It was still the for that self-titled record they came through, and they were actually supposed to play the Michigan Theater, but I don't think they sold enough tickets, so they ended up playing at the Blind Pig.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was nuts.
such an
Wow.
intimate show, man. That's
Yeah.
No, is it the Blind Pig? Yes,
Yeah.
it was. They were supposed to play it at the Michigan Theater.
Wow.
Um, but and my wife still says we stood right in front of Richard Lloyd, and the whole time I was elbowing her, like, watch, look at it, what he's doing, look at his hands, look at what he's playing. It's unbelievable.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome.
So
Some chemistry between Lloyd and Verlaine. That's just yeah.
yeah. Well, it's like Marty Wilson Piper and Peter Kopis of the Church. Those two guys. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
totally.
talk about a dream team. That's
Yeah.
I would go to Australia and play somewhere and have the Church play with us, right?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Chip, I hadn't heard the Church yet. I'm like, come on, they were the
Yeah.
Church.
Well, I was gonna when he asked who I'd want to have a drink with. I don't. Steve Kilby would be eat me alive, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I'm Paul Kelly. They would just be a tough hang, I think.
Like Alex Chilton, you're so unpredictable. You're
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
So speaking of shows, what was the first concert you guys went to? Do you
Mine
remember
was
what it
Genesis at the Madison Square Garden, 1983.
Wow, awesome. Holy
Yeah,
crap.
yeah, that was a good first show.
That's
Yeah,
a
hell
big
yeah.
one.
Hell
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
like that was the Mama tour.
very cool.
Yeah, I think I tagged along to again. Technically, I think technically my first show was like my mom took me with her to see Neil Diamond at Pine Knob. And Neil Diamond is such a great songwriter.
Yeah, hell
but
yeah.
as an 8-year-old or whatever, it was not my
Yeah.
my first choice. But I think the first one I went and saw was probably, oh, I should know this. This was I was in high school because we went and saw. I think I went and saw 3 shows in high school. That the first year of concerts was Aerosmith, with AC/DC opening up,
Wow.
Foreigner, and then we saw Queen that year.
Wow.
All at Cobo. All 3 of them were at Cobo.
Very
So
nice. Excellent. Yeah, Kobo.
that was a
that's
good year.
Yeah.
Chip has seen a lot of great shows. Like I thought I went to see a lot of concerts. He's seen way more than me, and he's like, oh yeah, I saw Queen on the jazz tour or whatever. I'm like, what?
Oh my God. Really? Did you seriously?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
That's
I had a
awesome.
buddy in high school, and we were both just music nuts. And then we both got into retail. So a lot of those were, hey, so-and-so's coming to town. You want tickets? Sure. I'll go see Lou Reed at Meadowbrook. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Robert Cray, whatever, whoever came through
Yeah.
town,
That's
they
awesome.
were passing out tickets. So it was pretty cool.
That's really
So
cool.
if I had a time machine, I would go back and see because some bandmates when I was in Chicago, I had a band, and these guys saw XTC open for the Police.
Oh man.
Yeah,
And
I saw that one.
I think it's the Zenyatta Madonna tour.
Yeah. That was
Oh.
at Masonic here in Detroit. Yep.
And you saw that too, right, Chip?
Yep. That was Black Sea and Zenyatta.
Black Sea. I mean, that's just like, and they said XTC was amazing. I mean, like the Police were great, but XTC was just as good.
I really didn't know who XTC was before that. I wasn't familiar with those first couple of records. So
Yeah.
That's always cool when you go to a show and you don't know the opening bands and you suddenly become a fan because you're
I
like,
love
wow,
that.
I had no idea.
that is so cool. Yes. That's excellent.
Such a bonus.
Yeah. Speaking of like concert, that was the first concert. What do you think was the best concert you guys have seen? I know that's really hard and changes over time, but you can throw out a couple if you want to. But how about Tom? What do you think?
All right. One that sticks out for me, I always bring up is Paul Weller. Paul Weller at the Metro in Chicago.
Nice.
And he played it like he was playing the United Center. And it's a pretty small place, and he was on fire, and he just
Awesome.
like the whole concert. And that's when I became a huge fan of his music across the board. I walked out of that concert like, that guy's the real deal, man. He was awesome. And I was like, all right, I went and bought all the Jam stuff and all the Style Council. I mean, I went nuts. I just went to be a huge fan of that show. It's just so good.
Awesome.
And obviously Genesis, when that first show, that made a huge impact on me. Love that show.
Yeah.
Trying to think if there's another. Oh, Peter Himmelman.
Oh.
I don't know if you're aware of him. He he played a lot in Chicago. We used to go see
Okay.
him anytime he came to town. And
Yeah, I've not heard of him.
he was man, he was so good live.
Yeah, there's
And
some people that just excel. They can't they have a hard time making a great record, but if you go see them live, they're just naturals at
Oh, I know.
playing and entertaining and storytelling and whatever. Yeah.
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 I've
yeah,
had that.
he was always entertaining. Every time you saw him, you'd walk out of there like that was a great show.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. A couple the first couple that come to mind, I always refer to I saw Los Lobos at the Majestic in
Nice.
downtown Detroit, and
Yeah.
it was so good. I mean, there were a couple of songs where you really felt like you were like levitating off the floor. You were just hanging on them, what they were going to play next or sing next, and um, they were just so good that you just kind of floated there. You felt
Yeah.
like you were just floating there watching them. And then there I don't know if you've heard of the band The Call,
Call.
80s band,
No.
had a slight Christian, contemporary Christian part to their lyrics. It was nothing overt or anything, but the singer was easily, Michael Bean was the most intense performer I've ever seen. The guy was living it up there, and he was just they were just tight band, passionate, intense singer. Not and not so that, I mean, he wasn't screaming at you, and
Yeah.
he was just, he believed with every thread of his body what he was putting out there. It was really, really, really excellent. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Oh,
So
you
you
know
guys,
what?
oh, go
Another
ahead.
show. Sorry, one more that I
Yeah.
thought of that I forgot about, but that it's so unfashionable. But Stone Temple Pilots.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
awesome.
I saw them on their first tour after doing, and I didn't even really know who they were. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, let's go to this concert." And I was like, "All right." We went to the Vic in Chicago, and they just rocked the house, man. It was like
Yeah.
rock heaven. I mean, they rocked hard, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, this is a really solid rock band. And
Yeah.
I remember at the end, it was like they did all the cliches, like all the rock cliches,
Oh, yeah.
everything that you'd want.
Right. Right.
It wasn't quite Kiss, but it was close.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
like I remember the guitar player at the end, he was just doing like these power chords, and all of a sudden he just takes his guitar, just drops it on the stage, and makes this humongous noise, and just walks off. I was like, yeah.
Yeah. Those
I've
guys
seen
still
I've seen a
put on a
lot of
good
great
show.
shows at the Arc
Oh,
in
yeah.
Ann Arbor.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of really, really good shows
Yeah.
there.
I saw, oh man, I'm going to blank out at Michael Hedges. Do you know who Michael
Oh,
Hedges?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
love
yeah.
Michael Hedges. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. I saw him there because this guy we knew was like, have you listened to Michael Hedges? I'm like, I don't know who he is, And so he played, he could actually, so this dude could actually play sort of like Michael Hedges.
Oh
Like
boy.
that was his inspiration. So he's playing me this stuff. I'm like, what in the hell is this? And so then, you get the CD and they're like, oh. And so, yeah, when he came to the Arc, the old Arc, he was there once, and he was at the new Arc too.
Right.
I saw him both times. Oh my God. That
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
That the
Straight
Arc is
up
one.
legend.
Yeah, the
Straight up.
Arc
That
is
guy's
one of
like
those.
the acoustic Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I was blown away. I still am. I love
Yeah, I mean, you
listening.
could. The Arc is cool, so cool because it's just, you could go there any night and
Yeah.
see somebody that's really talented.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw, and I didn't know him at all. But, a friend of mine said you should to go see Junior Brown. Had no idea who the guy was, and went there, and I was like, "Holy crap, that guy's
Right.
good! Holy
Yeah.
That
shit!"
thing he plays, I don't even, that the stapled together or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just a wild instrument, man.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and they used to call it "Take a Chance Tuesday." I don't know if they call that now, but there was a band from, I think they're from Texas. Oh shoot, now I'm blanking out on their name. It's like, it's Spanish for castle. Del Castillo.
Okay.
And they do a little bit of like flamenco inspired rock. But their guitar players are insane. They were
Yeah.
just so good. And then the singer did some flamenco kind of inspired vocals, but then they would do like just kind of standard rock stuff. But I was just sitting right up front and just blown away. Again, the arc, just
Yeah.
you see
Just
some
Mark is
people.
such a
talented,
jam.
super
It's such a
talented people.
jam. It's
Yeah.
like I saw my favorite ARC show was the Jayhawks.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
That
Oh,
nice.
was
wow.
that was so intimate. It was just so great. They're because they sort of have an intimate vibe in
Yeah.
anyway. And then
Yeah.
when they did some of those understated acoustic songs, it was just like it was amazing.
Yeah,
So
those two, was it Olson and Luris? Do you see, but were they together still?
no, it was just Loris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those harmonies from those first couple of records.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
That would actually be a really cool venue for you guys to play. I know you got your record release coming up, I think January 6th. Is that correct?
January 6th. Yes.
Trinity House. Right?
Trinity House in Livonia. Yeah.
Nice.
At 8:00 with
Excellent.
our good buddy, Chris Richards, who I played with back in the 90s, back down in Hamtramck. We used to play with his band Hippodrome all the time.
Nice.
And he's going to play with us solo. So
Cool.
it all kind of fell in our lap. We had just gone out, actually, Tom and I and our drummer Ron, and we're like, we really should, christen this thing with a show.
Right.
And we're like, what are we going to do? Where are we going to play? And we thought about a coffee house show, and that way we could keep it, pretty low key acoustic thingy.
Yep.
And the place we wanted to play has not fired back up from COVID yet, from live music, whether they ever do or not. But they're not doing live music, so we were kind of set back and a little bit bummed out about it. Right. And I got this email from Bill Keith over at Trinity House, and he said, "Hey, are you guys doing any Crossword Smiles show?" And we said, "Oh, wow. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we'd love to do one." So, we're excited. We've got, we fleshed it out. We got a couple of friends playing guitars with us, guitars and keyboards, John Lowry and Greg Addington, from a band called the Hangabouts.
Cool.
Are going to play guitars with us. And Dave Feeney's going to get up and play the pedal steel.
Awesome. Cool.
And Chris Richards is going to open up, and there might be some other, surprises. So yeah, awesome. We're excited.
Very cool. And so did I can't remember their names now that you mentioned them, but did they play on the album? I know Dave Feeney did, but
Dave Feeney did. Greg Addington plays guitar on Second Guesser, guitar on Penchant for Yellow, play some keyboards and guitar on Parallel Lines.
Cool.
And John Lowry plays some keyboards on Penchant for Yellow. Yep.
Okay. Yep. Cool. I thought their names sounded familiar, but just wasn't sure.
Yeah,
awesome.
They've got a cool studio and great musicians. So we lucked out. Yeah.
Cool.
Really good.
I've not been to Trinity House. What is that venue like?
Oh man,
it's cool.
Chuck, you need to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna see if I can get out to your show. I'm hoping.
Oh, we'd love that. The theater itself is really a cool little, you drive by, you go down 275 and get off at 6 Mile, and you drive by it, and it's a house. It looks like this house right next to the freeway, and it's in the parking lot of it shares a parking lot with Buca de Beppo and like a child daycare thing. It's a really odd thing. But once you get inside of the place, they gutted the back end of the house, and it's a legitimate, stage with 70 seats.
Oh, cool.
And they do a lot of bluegrass and folk stuff.
Okay.
But like Bill Keith is the guy who asked us to play. And I know Bill from a couple of radio DJ things he and I have done together.
Uh-huh.
And we have a little bit of a background in contemporary Christian stuff, more of the rock stuff, Mike Rowe and the 77s and the Choir and Vigilantes of Love and that kind of stuff. So that was our base. Okay. So he does get a decent bit of those, that little bit of slant in there, but full blood, the Blue Flowers.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's a very strong proponent of Michigan music.
Cool.
Kind of like, what you're doing here.
Cool.
which, hats off to you for all you do
Oh,
with your
thanks.
life in Michigan. And cheers. I didn't, what kind of beer are you drinking there?
Well, so I'm actually drinking non-alcoholic beer, which is like, whoa, what the heck?
Okay.
Um, so kind of funny story. Uh, I volunteered to do some research at U of M,
Uh-huh.
and the research is like a double-blind thing. It's actually looking at psychosis, and they're doing fMRIs, um, and looking at trying to study the brain when you take Ativan, which is a anti-anxiety med.
Okay.
And so that medication has nasty side effects with alcohol, so you're not supposed to drink 2 days before, 2 days after. So,
Okay.
boop. So
Gotcha.
non-alcoholic. But I've got two roots, hells, and so I was actually going to write working on a because dry January is coming up, and I was going to do like a review of non-alcoholic beers.
Okay.
So far, I gotta tell you, they don't compare to like
The
real
real
beers. And
leaded.
and they say like I had this one that was supposed to be a juicy IPA, another one that was supposed to be a stout, and they all kind of taste the same to me.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
either my palate's gone or I don't know. But
Well,
so
I'm gonna
got.
turn the tables on you, Chuck, and ask you for your three favorite Michigan beers.
Oh man. So
Yeah.
that's another one that changes quite a
Yeah.
bit. But I can easily say that you have to go to the pub to get it. It's Ogma Brewing in Jackson. They have so Troy, who used to work at Dark Horse, is their brewer, and he does some fantastic IPAs. He's done some nice sours and some good stouts as well. But the Doom Claw is kind of the go-to IPA that he's got going there. Super good if you like IPAs,
Right.
fresh, clean.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah,
We're both taking notes.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
place is super cool. It's a cool brewery. It's very small, but they've got good food there. Good selection of beers. So Ogma. As far as like one that we just had that I loved is it's called Five Hooligans, and it's by City Built, and that's City Built's in Grand Rapids, sort of the northern end of Grand Rapids. It's a great that beer is just it's supposed to be a New England style, but it doesn't have which I have a kind of a love-hate relationship with those. I love IPAs. I love a bunch of different beers, but it doesn't have. Sometimes those New England beers have kind of a strange aftertaste to me, like a kind of an astringency that I don't care for. But this doesn't, and it's so good. It's tons of, and it's another cool thing about it. It's got a hops in it called befuddlement, which
Oh,
I'm like,
nice.
yeah, I'm like, what the
Cool.
hell's befuddlement? So, and apparently it's supposed to have like sort of a bubblegum flavor. I don't know if I got that out of it, but it was good. And then third one would be Arvon Brewing, and that's another one over in pretty sure they're in Grand Rapids or that area. They do a lot of sours. They do a lot of beers with lactose, and they've got this one. It's called the Chocolate Dip, and it's basically raspberry chocolate. It comes up, you get this huge raspberry flavor in the beginning, and then the chocolate, and it's fairly sweet, less sweet than sour. Kind of a little tartness, but it pours out because of that lactose. It's like a shake. It's super thick.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a fun beer to. So there you go, 3.
Yeah, cool.
Just sip on it, right? You can just sip on it all night.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you wouldn't want to have like 2 or 3 of them because I think it would be too much, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a great beer to have in the
That's
evening.
that's how I went the Jolly Pumpkin, the sours. You can't have more than 2.
Yeah. Well, I actually just did a review of like holiday beers, and Jolly Pumpkins Noel is on there because
cool.
I thought that was a great one. So
All right.
bonus for the holiday one.
I'm going to tell you what my favorite one is, even
All
though
right.
you didn't ask me.
Yeah.
Green Bush, Brother
Oh yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's
fantastic.
it's been my favorite for a while now.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of honey, taste to it. I just really like that one.
Yeah, that one's fantastic. Actually, that place is really cool. It's kind of a hall, but they're
That's in Sawyer, right?
yep, yeah,
Yeah, and I haven't been. I've got a couple of friends who have been, and
yeah,
said it's cool.
yeah. It's very cool.
Okay, I got to get
Yeah,
out there
I
then.
could, I could. So, like music, I could talk about music, like almost all night, and I could probably talk about beer too.
You probably could, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We really appreciate you, man, because we always talk about this, how like, we work really hard on the record and we put a lot of time, energy, and sweat and money and all this stuff into making the album, and we just appreciate people like you, or who are doing their best to help us out as far as getting the word out. So
well, thanks, man. I mean, so I'll be honest, if because I get other music, but I sometimes don't review it because I don't like it, and um, it's I shouldn't. Well, it doesn't appeal to me. Some music doesn't appeal to me. They're like, not everybody gets into everything. Like I don't like reggae music, so I just can't. So sometimes, but I really liked your album, and I guess what I'm saying with that is that I tend to write about and promote things that I enjoy, but that may not necessarily be the best way because everybody's got their own frequency of things they like and enjoy. But I appreciate and thanks for the kind
Yeah.
words.
Yeah, it's cool. It's great to have people like you out there. Yeah,
Well,
very
thanks.
appreciated.
Thanks. Well, it's sort of what am I trying to say? I guess I understand where a lot of musicians come from because I used to play in a band way back, in the caveman days. So I understand what that's like to create your own music and you want people to experience it. And I'm also always shocked when people are like, goo for some huge band, right? But they have no idea all the great local talent they could go see every day of the week almost
Right.
in Michigan.
so
And
true.
you could
Yeah.
walk into so many places and see so much awesome music. And then you could go online and buy it. You can stream
Right.
it, whatever you want to do. But I just feel like almost a little bit evangelical about just get out there and listen to that. Get out
Right.
of your rut of the things you listened to in high school or whatever. Go
Right.
find some of this stuff
Right.
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 and,
Right.
and listen to it. And it's awesome,
Yeah. Experience it.
Yeah.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
love being able to find guys like you, lots of great local talent to then put out there and say, hey, check this out,
Yeah.
You
Very
guys are from
cool.
Michigan. Come on, people.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, guys, I really appreciate you being on Fans with Bands. I've got actually two more quick questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is pineapple or no pineapple on pizza? Chip.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm good with it. Yeah.
All right.
I'm down
All
with
right.
that. I remember actually, Chuck, back when my wife and I got married and we had our rehearsal dinner and we had, pineapple and
What?
ham pizza. And my
Awesome.
mom was like, what? The end of the world is not far off. Right. But yeah. Oh yeah. Definite yes for me.
Awesome.
I'm also a yes.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Good. Well, it's good that you guys are on the same wavelength, because otherwise it could be a problem. So that's
Right.
good.
Right.
Band broke up.
Yeah.
Right. We're done.
Pineapple.
Pineapple on pizza. I'm out of here.
Pineapple, yeah. And the other one is we're closing in on the holidays. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie or no? Tom.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
I'm calling it
say-
Christmas. It's Christmas is all throughout that movie, man.
Yeah. I'm gonna go the other way on that one. Although I'm just not a big, I don't know that I actually even sat through the thing. I'm not a big action movie guy, period. So
Yeah, that one's it's almost ridiculous. It's almost a comedy, I think. Well, I think in parts it's supposed to be a comedy, but
Right.
other times you're just like,
Took
this
it
is so
so far.
ridiculous.
yes.
Yeah, it's so over the top.
Ludicrous.
Yeah.
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 I do love the evil guy in it though. What's his
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Pure evil.
What's
That
his
guy's
name?
good evil.
Franz?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Franz. Yeah.
No, Hans.
Hans. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Now
Which
listen
is-
here, Hans.
Yeah. Isn't that Alan Rickman? I think.
Yes, it
Oh
is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
he was fantastic. All right. Well,
Early
guys,
Alan Rickman.
yeah. Well,
So,
thank you again.
what's your so okay,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to
Go ahead.
ask you, what's as far as action movies are concerned, what would you say are like the cream of the crop?
Cream of the crop action movies?
Yeah.
Uh, you know, wow. The Daniel Craig series of 007 movies, I think, with
I keep
um,
hearing that. I've never seen them. People keep saying how great they are.
the first one. I can't think of the name of it right now. Quantum of Solace, I think, is the second one. But the very first one that Daniel Craig does is fantastic. It's
Yeah.
the action in that thing is crazy. And then the other one is the very first Bourne movie, Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Yeah, those. I really could watch those just about anytime. I just love them. They're just, again, sort of on the Bourne less on the ridiculous side, but some of the 007 stuff, it's like, how is somebody doing that?
Right, exactly. Too far out.
Right. So yeah, those would get my votes.
All right.
All right. Well, guys, thanks again for being on Fans and Bands. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, Chuck. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, and so I'll try to make it out to the January 6th show, but if
Excellent.
but if I can't, hopefully everybody will get out there. I'll be sure to share it on social media to hopefully get some folks out there to check you guys out live. That'll
Much
be cool.
appreciated. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much, Chuck. We appreciate it.
All right, cool.
All right, man.
All right.
See ya.
Take care.
Take it easy, Chuck.
Bye.
See ya.
Thanks to Tom and Chip for joining me on this episode of Fans with Bands. I really enjoyed talking with them about their new album called Pressed and Ironed, which you can pick up on Big Stir Records. If you get a chance, head over to Trinity House Theater for Crossword Smiles record release party happening on January 6th. See the show notes for all the details and links. These are tough times for everyone in the creative industries such as music. Your support of live streaming, purchasing music, and merchandise is critical. If you can help out your local artists, please do. If you are in the Michigan area, consider following the Playing in the Detroit Area Tonight Facebook page. It is a place for fans and bands to support each other and share our combined love of music. Thank you all so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to get each and every episode of Fans with Bands. Spread the word by rating the show and leaving a comment. We want to hear what you think. You can keep in touch by following us on social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, be well and kick out the jams.